Hello, YouTube. It's Ryan here with HobbiesofaMan. Once again, today we're going to be doing another why I like or why I love video here. Today we're going to be looking at Komi Can't Communicate. And I have a little bit more to say about this than I do Furi-san, so this might be a longer video, or it might be shorter but more direct. I'm not really sure, but I did just spend like 15 minutes talking to myself without realizing that I didn't hit record, so I don't really want to do that again. So let me double check that I'm recording and kind of speed run through the early elements of this video, right? So Komi Can't Communicate. As you guys can see, there's a big gap here in between, which I'll get to, but let's talk about the book facts here first. So I'm just going to read them off my computer here. So Komi Can't Communicate is published in Japan as Komi-san wa Komoyoshu desu, or Komi-san wa communication shogai desu. I think that the komshu thing is a what's it called? Like it's not a portmanteau, although it might be like a combination of two words, right? And it's currently serializing. It started serializing in May 18, 2016. It won an award, and the genres are slice of life, romantic comedy, and I would argue that it's kind of in that like healing genre. I forgot what it's called. I always forget what it's called. Someone let me know down in the comments. But to me, it definitely has that kind of like healing genre vibe, right? And I feel like for many Japanese people, it probably does that too, because I feel like Komi kind of is like a very good representative of like the people in Japan. Although that's just like from a very distant third, like outside perspective, right? So it might be different when you're living there, right? But yeah, Komi to me sounds like a very like defining character of like what it is to actually be like Japanese IRL. But I don't know, you know, that could be completely wrong. And you can tell me that. So yeah, it's a shonen. It's serialized on Shonen Sunday. And the author here is Tomohito Oda, no relation to Eiichiro Oda, at least I don't think so. I feel like Oda would have mentioned Komi Can't Communicate if they were related, but I don't think so. And the main character is Komi. Her actual name is Shoko. And the male lead is Hito Tadano. And his name literally means man, normal person. So you can, you know, kind of guess what type of character he is. Tadano and Komi have siblings. Komi's brother is Shosuke, and Tadano's little sister is... I don't remember, actually. Let me see if I can find her. Well, I guess she doesn't matter. And some other characters that are pretty important here are Najimi Osana and Rumiko Manbagi, and Makoto Katai as well. And these are very important characters. You should kind of keep their names in mind. Komi's brother is really not relevant, but he apparently seems to be a major supporting character here on my anime list. So we'll see, you know, why later, I guess. I wouldn't really classify him as an important character, but seems like he's relevant, right? But not too important here, I guess. That's it for the book facts. Let's talk about why I have a huge amount of volumes missing. And it's mostly because I read those volumes by borrowing them from a friend. My buddy Robert, who I used to mention a lot on the channel. I don't mention as much nowadays because, well, he doesn't really read manga anymore. He's been on like a manga rut for a long time. And so I don't really have too many reasons to reference him, right? But he's a great guy. I met him in middle school many years ago. We've been friends for about 10 years. And after I moved to college and I started hanging out with him, you know, once every couple months, and especially after I started this channel, we were talking about manga one day, and he mentioned this series. He thought it was great. I had heard people talk about it before, and I was curious about getting to read it, and so he let me borrow a bunch of his books. I think my early Komi Can't Communicate reviews definitely mentioned that fact a lot. I just can't be bothered to go double check right now. But and so I basically ended up reading the first half of the series just by borrowing his books. Eventually, I think he stopped collecting it, and so I had to start collecting it myself, or I started collecting it myself, and so I didn't bother borrowing it from him anymore. I can't remember what happened exactly, but I started collecting it myself based on where I had left off. So I started at volume 16, and now I have the second half of the collection. I bought these first two at some point later on, but I'm going to give them away. It's part of my 1,000 subscriber giveaway that I'm still working on getting all the books for. So that will happen at some point here, hopefully before the middle of the year, but I'm not exactly sure. But I wanted to mention them here anyway, since they're going to be here. And the reason I'm doing this video is because I think that it's time to move this section of my collection back home, and I needed to do this review before I did that, right? So yeah, I'm going to continue to collect Komi starting from number 29, but I just needed to make some space in my bookshelf, right? So I'm moving this back home. And so that's why there's a big gap. And it's also partially why the series matters to me. Like, this series is very special. It reminds me a lot of my experience in middle school and high school in a way that is very satisfying and wonderful for me. The added fact that it was, shown to me by a high school friend, and that, all of my early experiences with the series are directly connected to him, makes it more special. It makes me kind of like really appreciative of the fact that this exists, and that now I have like a connection with this friend for as long as I collect manga, which should be the rest of my life, and for as long as I have this series in my collection, right? And so I really appreciate it for that kind of element, right? And maybe it's a little bit corny. I think actually it's very corny, but it's still special to me, right? And so I do want to talk about why the series is cool and interesting, and why I like it, but that was kind of like a major point, which is it ties me back to a simpler time in my life that I really appreciated, that I really liked going through, right? Most people don't really like their high school experiences. To me, although there was definitely bad parts of my high school experience, nothing was so bad that I hate my life, or I hate that part of my life. To me, high school and actually later middle school as well was a very revealing and important part of my life, and a very positive time of my life. And honestly, maybe I hate undergraduate studies more than I hate high school, even though, the same could be said about my undergraduate studies. It was a very important, positive, revealing time in my life, but there's a certain nostalgia to my high school experience, right? Maybe I peaked in high school, I don't know. But, and so this story lets me kind of relive that experience in a way that is also very wholesome and helpful to me in terms of like helping me get through tough days, right? For a long time, I've been reading a volume of Komi anytime I have a tough test or a tough day at school. And it's been really helpful and really meaningful to me. So this is kind of like my my therapy book, if you want to call it that. I don't think that's a good way to kind of look at things, but it is kind of like a comfort series for me, and that's why it's special to me. But the characters most of them are all pretty phenomenal. I really love Komi as a character. I think that she's really fun because she definitely has a personality and like an element of character to her, but because of her crazy, very severe, introversion or whatever you want to call it, that rarely is ever visible. And so in comparison, she seems very devoid of character, whereas everyone around her is insanely, unique and crazy, and so powerful in their characterization. And I really find that to be enjoyable and fun. It's also maybe something that kind of shows us like an underlying kind of element here, which is that we always think we're boring compared to other people. And the reality is that we're not, right? We're as equally as boring as everyone else, or as equally as interesting as everyone else. And maybe the issue is that we don't know how to communicate those elements, right? So we'll see what happens there, right? With that kind of situation there. I think it really depends on your personal viewpoints. I watched a video the other day, I don't know why, about how to, have a personality. And it basically boiled down to find something you like, become very interested in that thing, and then find a way to communicate with people about that thing. And so your personality is just like a bunch of traits that are very strong that people can associate with you, right? I don't know if that's good or bad, but it definitely feels like very good advice for introverted people. And I feel like that's exemplified in this series, right? And I think that it's an interesting series in that sense. It highlights so many different types of interests and styles and ways of being and concepts and characters in a way that feels very satisfying to me, because it's immensely easy, it's not too serious, and it's just like enjoyable, right? Like I feel like I'm repeating myself, but basically there is a sense of familiarity that comes with the series to me that makes everything that is put in and kind of explored through the series to feel very comfortable, even if it might be things that otherwise I would not be interested in, right? So, yeah, especially early on, I really liked the elements of the foodie stuff with, what's her name? Asane, I think? The girl that likes to bark. I'm sorry, her name is Agari. With video games and chuniness with Nakanaka and, you know, different stuff like that. And I really like how all of these characters are big and boisterous in who they are. And Komi is great because she accepts all of them. And even though she might have some issues with some of them here and there, eventually they come to an understanding, right? And so there's kind of this like lesson of like empathy as well. So I don't know, there's just so much stuff to this story that to me really resonates, right? And honestly, maybe I'm looking too deeply into the series. Someone else might look at the series and be like, it's whatever, right? It's dumb and it's really simple. But to me, that simplicity actually helps kind of illustrate these other things, right? It almost has this kind of like Sunday cartoon kind of element to it, right? Not the like the ones that are just kind of like random and that every Sunday you have a different like strip that has nothing to do with itself. I mean the type that like have like a through line, that are trying to explore something through cartooning, right? This feels like that. Although, you know, again, like I said, I might be reading into it. In general, it just makes me really happy to read this. And maybe I did a better job at explaining why I love Komi in my January wrap-up, I think. Maybe it was my February wrap-up, I can't remember. But, you know, so go watch it if you want. But hopefully I told you guys why I enjoy the series, why I love it, and maybe showed some interesting ways of looking at the series that might make you enjoy it more than you would otherwise, right? I also like the format. It feels like a 4-coma series, but it's actually like normal length chapters, more or less, and there's a lot of them. At the end of this volume, we go to 376, and we're getting near the ending. I think Komi only has like 20 more friends she needs to make before the series basically completes its premise. And I think that they're nearly done with their 3rd year of high school. And so the series is definitely going to come to an end soon. It's just a matter of like, whether that's in 10 chapters or, you know, 100 chapters or, you know, 1 volume to 10. It really depends. And hopefully this gets around to 40 volumes, I think. I think that would be a good size, although it's very big, right? And maybe that's the one detractor, that the series is really big. But there's actually a positive to this, which is just you can read it on the Viz app. You don't have to buy it, right? And I think that that's also kind of a good thing. I want to buy it because it's special to me, right? But you don't have to if you want to enjoy the series regardless. So there you go. Those are my thoughts. I kind of veered off topic here at the end, but hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you thought. Do you like this format? I think I have 2 videos out now in this format already, and hopefully it's enjoyable. Hopefully it's interesting, and it's not necessarily as like rigid and structured as my my normal reviews, and that might be more appealing to you guys. I'm not really sure. I gotta come up with like a bombastic title for this though, so we'll see. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Komi, and thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and see you guys later.